Heidi ho, Arkansas Pilgrim here again with an actual homesteader thing. I'm going to show you how I built an incubator from scratch for hatching your own chicks. All right, here's the incubator, and it's definitely a redneck build. I've got holes in it in places for some stuff. I might not even go into that, but I've got, you know, toilet paper stuffed into the holes so that the heat won't escape. Incubator, it's a box, needs to hold heat and humidity to put eggs in to hatch. Well, I started with a cardboard box and covered it in foam sheets, that foam insulation. I've got on top, I have like a piece of clear plastic, which that's just, I don't remember what I got it from, but it's, there's plenty of things that have like clear plastic pieces that you can, even, if it's just one of those bubble wrap plastic containers that you buy something else in, save a flat piece of it, use it for a window. Well, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open it up right now because there are actually some chicks in it. And I'm going to, maybe I won't do that because if I open it up, I really need to move the chicks. So I may actually open it, move the chicks, and then take a picture, and then I'll probably narrate over the pictures. Not exactly an action-packed video, but what the heck.
Here we have the interior of the incubator, and the guts of it, or the heart of it, or whatever internal organs you want to use to describe it, are a hot water heater thermostat, very simple one. We have a light bulb and a light bulb socket that will plug into an extension cord or an outlet. You either have a cord on it, or some of them they're just a socket with a couple little prongs on it. You can plug right into an extension cord. An extension cord that has multiple plugs, outlets, inlets, whatever at the end. And let's see here, we have also a fan. Now this fan I took out of a broken microwave oven, so I had to add my own cord to it. But you can find fans at like Walmart. Yeah, like a little desk fan. This is like a 4-inch fan. Now you need to have one that's 110 volts, something that you can plug into the wall, not one that's powered by USB. Okay, that's the main things you need. Now, when you're talking about a hot water heater thermostat, this is the kind you want. It has 2 connections, and you can see that it goes you can set it between 90 and 150 degrees. Now, incubator needs to be kept right around 100, and the range you'll go between to turn on and off is larger than what you'll find when you look into incubating your eggs. It'll say things like it must be kept between 99.5 and 100 degrees. Well, that's just a bunch of garbage because hens can't do that. And I've done it. And actually, the one I've got working right now, the picture you just saw here, the way I have it set up with the light bulb pointed away, it actually has had about 15-degree, maybe even larger variations. Actually, maybe it's closer to 10-degree variation in temperature inside, at least according to the monitor. Oh, and speaking of the monitor, you want to get yourself one of these. This is just a monitor. It's not a controller. It says what the internal temperature is and what the relative humidity is. These cost about $10 or so, and actually the thermostat costs about $10 or so. You can keep an eye on the humidity and do things to make it adjust. You have to do it manually. You just have to keep an eye on this. You can't just leave it alone. Okay, back to, let's see, let's go here. If you look down in the bottom here, here, there's all my eggs. Actually, you see I've already had stuff hatching here. The cardboard box, you need to use some like 1/4-inch hardware cloth to make like a false floor, so that underneath it you can put a large pan of water. That water, when you have the fan blowing and the thermostat running the thing at 100 degrees. And oh, I did forget to mention this. The light bulb, you can't have an LED light bulb. It needs to be either an incandescent bulb, an old-fashioned light bulb with a filament, or a halogen bulb, because this is the heat source. This is what's going to heat up the air inside the incubator, and the fan will circulate it around. You want to have like a 75 watt or a 60 watt incandescent or halogen bulb. The wattage, not the equivalent light output. Again, this not an LED bulb, but that 75 watt or 60 watt is the energy that's being put into the air to heat it. So it needs to be an actual power consumption value on the bulb, so it will heat the air in the incubator. The lower value will heat slower, and because it's heating slower, the fact that the thermostat is kind of a slow responding control also, because it's responding to the air temperature, not stuck up against a metal tank with water on the other inside of it. The lower wattage is probably better. It'll help minimize the variation in the temperature of the incubator. Anyway, you need to get back into this pan down here. Underneath your false floor, you have this big pan of water, and when it's 100 degrees in there, the water here will gradually evaporate, and it'll keep the relative humidity in the box at around 50 degrees. 50% is what it needs to be during most of the time of the incubation of the eggs. When you get near hatching, you need to change that, but we'll get to that in a minute. Okay, back to this setup. The way I have this, if you want to minimize the variation in the temperature, I probably should have turned this around so that it points closer to this, and because this is intended to be stuck up against the wall of a metal tank full of water and reading a temperature that way, and the high density of the metal and the water holding transmits the temperature to this very easily. And here I'm using it to measure air temperature. You can put this in different places, and you'll want to set it up and try it out a few times just to see how it works using your temperature and humidity monitor, not necessarily the humidity, but the temperature, to see what kind of configuration works best to minimize how much variation there is in the temperature inside the box. Like I said, I probably should have this pointed the other way so it actually shines on there a little bit, because then it'll warm it up and turn it off sooner. I actually had it varying between 95 and 105 or 106 degrees, but I still had hatchings. So you attach these things to the wall. I've got like this piece of wood screwed in here. You can mount it to the inside of the cardboard with zip ties or something. That's what you need to do. Now, how this is all wired up. Where's my picture here? You want, everything can be plugged into the extension cord. Actually, that's the way you want it to do. You don't want to wire one to the other like you're making your own, custom wiring job. I won't go into why you want to do that, but plus it's also easier because everything, the light bulb and the fan should have a plug on it that you can plug into the extension cord. Then you take the extension cord, you take one side of the extension cord and cut it and pull it apart. You want to connect these two pieces. You can put those little aluminum connector ends if you want, but it's not necessary. You're going to wire them into these two terminals on the thermostat. That way it turns the power. When this turns on, the power goes through. When it turns off, the power goes off. You don't want to cut it across. That'll just make a direct short when the thing turns on. You want to have one line. That's how it's set up here. You cut a hole in the box, have the power cord go out, close around the box. Now, that'll make the thing turn on and off. The fan will turn on and off. The light bulb will turn on and off. And you can watch the conditions on your monitor. And as you see, there's different holes cut in these different places here, and that's just because I've, was learning what I was doing as I was going along. Rather than having a top that comes off of the box, I mean, you want that, but you don't want to act. It's better to not have that be your access point when you've got eggs in here. It'd be better to cut a hatch on the side, because when you take the top off the box, all the hot air can rush out. Now, you do want to be able to have fresh air get into it once in a while, but if you have to open the box up once in a while and add water to the tray, that's okay. Now, you note up here, there's like a hole in the lid. And you noted earlier also that I had these, these holes on the side that I had stuffed with, with some toilet paper to, to keep the air from going out. I added a bunch of dowels to this to be able to set the eggs on and then rotate the dowels so they would rotate. I thought that would be better. It turns out, to be honest with you, that may be, more fancy engineering stuff that seems kind of cool. But the way I did it the first time, which is what this hole here was for, I just had a stick with that I'd kind of, screwed or nailed a kind of a little flat board on, kind of like a rake that I had sticking through here, and I, stuffed like a rag or something around so that the air wouldn't come through. That I could just, grab and move around inside to roll the eggs around, because you're supposed to roll the eggs around a couple times a day early when they're incubating. I guess it keeps the keeps the yolk from settling on the side. It's supposed to be good. Apparently, I guess hens move their eggs around too, but you're supposed to do that, and it's better to kind of do it in more of a redneck way than a fancy way, because it's simpler. And one thing, you don't want to have to pay for a bunch of dowels and all. It's kind of silly. Actually, next time I do it, I'm not going to put these dowels back in here. Yeah, here's the from the outside. You can see the hole that's where I used to have the stick poking through. Now, when it comes to the relative humidity, when you get near the end of the incubation, you need to raise the relative humidity up to about 75%. And one of the things you can do, and that's where this hole also comes in handy, is to take a spray bottle and heat some water up, put it in the spray bottle, get the water pretty hot, and then stick the spray bottle through this hole. Put it on spray mist, as the tight of mist as you can get without shutting it off, and spray it in there a few times. Take a look, through your window and see what the humidity monitor is showing you. And when you get it up to 75, 80% or whatever, and you have to, for the last couple of days of incubation, you just kind of have to monitor that and keep that incubation relative humidity higher, up above 75%. If it drops below, that's okay. I've had it been dropping down, and I've been spraying stuff in there. Actually, and I recommend this kind of spray bottle because it has a tip that will go. You can kind of stick in there, and it will fog the whole inside of the box. Now, it would probably be best to not have the whole. I've been careful. That's famous last words. Well, I was being careful to not just spray stuff directly onto the electrical contacts, but be careful. Spray it in there. Get the spray bottle in a different. Have that hole and these mounted in a different area so it's not spraying directly on it. Plus, it's misting. It's hot water. It should evaporate almost immediately. So that's just something to be careful about. Anyway, that's how I made my Redneck incubator, and it works. If you got any questions, my email address is in the About tab on my channel, so you can always send it to arkansaspilgrim@gmail.com and ask me any questions about it. Hopefully that's helpful to you. God bless y'all. See you next time.